Well, here we are.
Finally.
Finally. Hi, welcome, Marco. It's a pleasure to have you here today in this podcast. My name is Darly, and I've been in this journey of sound for about 15 years. And I had the pleasure, of course, to have Marco as my mentor in sound therapy many years ago, and he's still my mentor. Every time I learn a lot with him. And today we have this opportunity before I leave Dubai, finally, after 15 years in this beautiful
15
country,
years.
meeting a lot of beautiful people around. And today we have this beautiful opportunity to be here, sharing a lot of wisdom and knowledge together. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you, Darly. Pleasure. And cannot believe for you it's 15, for me it's almost 10. So you see,
Wow.
time flies.
Yeah, wow. So tell me a little bit about you, Marco. Who are Marco?
Well, mm, let's say that sound make me understand who I am. And even in the beginning of the book, that one day will come out, is to sound that taught me patience and to silence that taught me truth. So obviously this is not so powerful, for instance, as Rumi, like silence is the language of God. Nevertheless, let's say that Marco is somebody that is connected to sound for quite some time now and like to share this passion with others. And this is most likely also how we connected.
So true.
I actually don't remember when, but I would say at least, 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago.
Around that, yeah.
I think maybe even more, definitely before the pandemic. So
Yes, I was so passionate when I saw Marco first time exuberating all his knowledge with sound. And I am a person that I am really fascinated with sound, although I've been working in this field for such a long time. And the passion that Marco has towards that was something that really catched my heart because it was the first time I could ever see a person work in the sound therapy in such a beautiful, gentle way. Because nowadays we see therapists around, they are like hitting balls around. And for a person like me, diagnosed with a highly sensitive person, especially my ears, it can be very hurtful. And I'm very sensitive with sound. And when I saw Marco, this was something very beautiful. That's how we connected. I was like, I want to learn with this person. This was very beautiful.
sound indeed connects us because we are sound. As you know, you heard this sentence that it's the cliche one that everything vibrates, we are vibration. So basically, this is how we connect. And yes, I'm more than happy that all of us that are looking for perhaps some truth or some more understanding, that we can actually share it through sound, because sound is such a beautiful gift to humanity that it would be really a big waste not to use it.
Yeah, so true. And bringing up in this episode today, we have something very special to talk about. And we're going to talk today about the sound healing circles, the frequencies that become business. And we are going to start this podcast. I'm going to ask you something very uncomfortable. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Yeah. If sound really healed trauma, depression, and cancer, why are the people selling it still changing thousands of dollars for it?
Because they are selling a bull. Look, there is no such thing as universal healing. Obviously, whoever works in holistic knows that we should look at the body as one and treat it as one, as a system at the end of the day. But for specific conditions, depending also on how far is the condition, of course, certain things might not be enough. Now, if you have an accident and if you are bleeding, most likely starting doing Reiki will not really help that much. So if we first diversify what we can do and what we cannot do, or what are the placebos, what are the exaggerations, what are the fabricated realities that some people trying to sell, then we can see through that there is something, but this something still needs to be properly understood.
Mhm. And what does the sound circle symbolize in today's wellness and the spirituality industry?
Well, I'm glad that you bring up the circus, because indeed it is becoming a circus. And I would say in the last 5-6 years, this escalated. Now, if you look at the circus as a venue where you have clowns, acrobats, animals, and various characters, almost like theatrical, then I suppose also in the healing modalities, we can not really make analogies, but kind of diversify them, because at the end of the day, we all have certain tendencies. We are all work in progress. Nobody is perfect. But the way how we manifest or express, or maybe even implement, in this case, the sound, the use of sound, of course, varies.
Beautiful. And who are the clowns and acrobats in our current culture, and how do we recognize them?
Well, I suppose that the clowns would be the ones that are parading nonsense, sometimes aware, sometimes completely unaware, but that at the end are not really helping the environment or society, because at best they are deceptive, at worst they are basically tragic, as their role in the circus is.
Mhm.
That's why perhaps the analogy with the clown is appropriate in this case. I think if you believe in these 432 hertz, 5 to 8, the frequency of love, DNA, RNA, chakra, full body alignment, of course, you certainly fit in this category, because none of this is really scientifically proven. And as we know, in the last 5-6 years, science became science fiction.
Mhm.
So even science is not what it used to be. The acrobats are a little bit more advanced, shall we say. Advanced in terms that they certainly have a knowledge or an understanding, but the tendency is to exaggerate, or perhaps to completely create stories, narratives around something that it's mega galactic and not even accessible. Obviously, acrobats needs to have some skills. You cannot just be down and make the clown with your wig and everything. You need to know how to keep balance, how to jump, how to properly grab something. So in this case, I think these are people that do have a certain degree of understanding, but perhaps are either exaggerating, I don't know, claiming that they can cure cancer, or completely doing some kind of acrobacies that might be very interesting to or for Instagram stories, but not applicable into the modality itself. And if you go further, you have those ones that are based on intuition. Nothing against intuition. We all have intuition to a certain degree. But, claiming now that your intuition on me, on you, on someone else, it's personalized, I don't know. I'm not so gifted.
From where you think that this belief of the frequencies, the earth frequencies, or 432 hertz that you mentioned, another frequency, it's a healing modality.
Because one of the things that we all understand are numbers. You, for instance, are from Brazil. I'm from Europe. So we have, to a certain degree, some common grounds, but the language is different. The numbers are same. So when you see a number, it's something that it's finite, ultimate. And people love to play with numbers because numbers, I mean, you have a math that deals with numbers. And then you start calculating and giving some analogies, how the distance from the moon and the sun is this specific ratio, blah, blah, blah. And the question is then, even you that are about to go again to India now, does your sitar teacher really tells you tune your sitar to 432?
No, definitely no. We actually, tuning an instrument is so much being in, your ear. It's about, there is no frequency that is showing there that should be right. It's about the ear, how really you tune to that frequency.
Frequency.
Yeah. Amazing, Marco. And why do we prefer actually the magical answers over complex truth in nowadays society?
Because the truth, as Osho would say, Osho, Bhagwan Rajneesh,
Yeah.
the truth, it's not beautiful. The truth just is. And in a world that is obsessed with appearance and with how something is presented and how everything is curated and how everything is optimized to the algorithm and how everything needs to be posted at the right time with the right content, with the proper selection of hashtag, linked on Linktree, optimized for all the possible channels and outlets. It's hard to accept that things are not always perfect. And when you are forced in a situation in which you don't feel comfortable, it's easier to basically find a safe haven in a belief.
Mm-hmm.
If we decide that Pokemon is our god, we will eventually ending up worshipping Pokemon. And for me and for you, this will be our reality. But it doesn't make Pokemon God or real and in a certain way relevant to all other people. Here is the same. You need something that you grasp on. Numbers are there. Numbers are clear. There is no misunderstanding. You can start doing mind masturbation with calculations and everything around and finding how this can be multiplied, subdivided, added, and so on. But still, does that really mean that this will help you?
And even in music, we use, even if you compare to that, we use a synthesizer that have frequencies in there. While you mixing those frequencies, there is no right frequency. So how can we define that, right? It's impossible. I believe, as you said, everything is in the mind. The beliefs are in the mind. So if you believe that is true, it's gonna be true.
Because there is a conglomerate of frequencies. So we as being, we don't have one frequency. There is always this, can you find this frequency that will fix my aura or fix this? Obviously, each organ potentially has a sort of ideal vibratory state. But even this is different. The, let's say, frequency of stimulation of the intestine. In your case, it's different than in my case. There is age difference, sex difference, pre-existing condition difference. There is belief difference. So there is so much of different points that it's impossible to find this one-fit-all solution that everyone is obsessed with.
In your opinion, then, should be spiritual workers be accountable?
Well, the moment you charge money, I think everyone should be accountable. I mean, it's a responsibility. And let's start with responsibility. Response-ability. Do you have the ability to respond to something in a way that is professional, that is showing ethics, and that is not in a certain way a scam? I come along so many shamans. In reality, they were charlatans. Also because shaman, by definition, is just one that is either in the tribe or upon invitation join the tribe. You can do shamanic practice outside. You can do shamanic session, but you're not a shaman. But people get so obsessed with this, I'm a sound healer, I'm a sound whatever, master. I never liked the concept of master. It's again so disempowering to others. We should be a sound family. This is how we connected.
True. And what is the line between genuine healing practices and spiritual entertainment?
I don't know if I told you the story. 16 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and they make an advertisement for one event that I was holding. And the person changed, because I have sound entrainment with Marko, the person changed to sound entertainment. When entrainment is confused for entertainment, I think we understand the current state of affairs. And
Wow, so they was expecting an entertainment overall.
because reality is that sound therapy is boring. If you look from the standpoint of a regular John Doe, what is so exciting about tapping something, and if you have, let's say, a bowl waiting a certain amount of time to basically bring it dissipation, this transition, and then repeat it, and then do it in a sequence that is possibly, in order to achieve a certain result, repetitive. Nothing is very really exciting, but it can be very transformative for the receiver. But because we are so obsessed with how we will look like and how we want to make this good and how we need to use, I call it the tutti frutti scheme, 5 minutes of Koshi chimes, 5 minutes of the angelic crystal harp, 5 minutes of the tourmaline chalice, 5 minutes Tibetan, not really, but bowls, 5 minutes of crystal bowls, 5 minutes of gongs, 5 minutes of voice, and maybe Shruti box and something else. So when this became the main criteria, in other words, how many instruments you collected, nothing is wrong with collecting. But you certainly know also as a musician, the point is in transitions. The more tools you have, the more instruments you have, the higher is the chance that the transition will not be as smooth as it should be.
You need a lot of energy as well and understanding of how you're going to transit into all of these instruments, because as much as you have, as much you have to understand that you have to put more also work in there, right?
Field, energy, frequency.
But I see a lot of anxiety as well towards that, what you were saying, because if they are trying to not do the transition between that in a faster way, it's because there is an anxiety in there, right?
Because there is always this fear that it will not be good enough. And that's a problem that the person, in this case the practitioner, the facilitator, needs to work with. Because if you don't have this in you, that you understand that A, less is more, L-I-M, and second, KISS, keep it stupid simple.
Yes, so true.
This is something that will not only be a liberation for the practitioner, but will allow the receiver to enter into the altered state of consciousness, which is the point of therapeutic approach.
And why do people become so drawn to frequency and energy and vibration narrative in times of uncertainty?
Well, most likely it gives them some sense of safety. Because when you understand, coming back to numbers, I mean, there is very little to understand with numbers, right? You don't need to be a genius to understand numbers. You come to certain numbers, of course, then you can ask, okay, so how did you come to these numbers, which I have the tendency to ask. And then things start getting messy. because there is always these cliche numbers, but nobody really seems to give any answers. Very simple answers. For instance, solfeggio frequencies. The whole YouTube, it's permeated with this frequency. 174, 369, and 852, whatever you put the number. I mean, there is nothing wrong with the number. It's just that this number is not special. But people tend to believe that it is special because they find comfort in this. It's a little bit like the ostrich, you know. You want to be in your bubble. I always say, how you know that you know? If you're an ostrich, you never know that you don't know because you think you know. But if you again ask yourself, how do you know that you know? That's the only thing that makes us grow. Curiosity is the engine of intelligence. If you never ask questions, what are you? Most likely, just a multitude of beliefs. And when too many beliefs are present, there is no space. And I'm not now saying be so open-minded that the brain fall out, okay? But also, we should not have so rigid opinions. And I know this because I learned it the hard way. As somebody that have a background in technology, you know, in technology things are very black and white. The 50 shades of gray are not really allowed, as they would say here in the UAE when you always hear not allowed. So, yeah, and this binary way of seeing things can be also very dangerous. So, but to come back to these numbers and this comfort in this, I would say the problem is that everyone seems to think to understand what frequency is. But often frequency is abused. I dare to claim that frequency is one of the most abused words in sound.
Could you explain that?
So for instance, energy. Energy is way more important because energy, it's something that is the pre-requirement for frequency. And before that, as already said before, you need to have a field. So if you don't understand field, the biofield, the reaction field of sound or sound radiation, how will you then understand energy? And if you confuse energy with frequency, which is often the case, then it's a very big confusion. And in many cases, I often say on the trainings that I do, if you replace frequency with energy in whatever was your belief or whatever you learned, you're actually fine. Because in 95% of the cases, whatever was meant was actually meant for energy, not for frequency. Frequency, it's a consequence of field and energy. But people understand it as the core of everything. Also because at the end, what is frequency? After 30 years of pondering around this, I still don't know. And yet, I see on maybe not daily, second, third daily,
what is frequency?
from individuals that explain to me what is frequency after seeing 5 Insta stories and 1 YouTube video. So
and still there is no frequency.
there is a lot of confusion. Or let's say that the frequency of entropy is very high. Vibrate high.
Wow. Marko, let's go in this topic, very polemic topic now. If your healing only works with perfect lighting, it's not healing, it's marketing. How does Marko see that? When did the spirituality becomes a content?
Okay, I think here we need to divide it in 3 sections. First, I personally am very bad at marketing because I still believe that if I do what I intend to do, the Marko thing will happen. In other words, people will be happy either with the service, I mean with the session or with the training, and they will basically spread the word. Also because this is how usually I get in contact with other potential clients or people. Now regarding the content, again, I don't think I'm the right address, but I assume that content was since ever a driver for marketing, because if you don't have a content to present, what are you basically selling? But with social media, this definitely exploded in a logarithmic way, hockey stick way. Because if before was going like this, then in a moment was tick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this inflection moment is problematic, because it seems that there is this desire. And desire, if you look it from even the personal point of view, we all have desire. It's just how you're dealing with desire that makes you a certain type of human being or a different one. It's impossible to get rid of desire. I mean, the ego is desire. My grandma used to say, desire is the mother of unhappiness. So if you want to be unhappy, have constant desires. Now, content-wise, I think it becomes a sort of religion. And I'm not against religions. I just don't think that in a world of energy and sound, this should be a religion. Particularly not the branch of frequencism. So that this specific frequency will do something. Again, I'm coming back to this because there is too much of this noise. There is too much of this, the Schumann resonance. Yes, this tuning 432 that historically was never used, but now for the last 30 years became the point of everything.
So you think that this also is disconnecting people from their true reality?
I think there is strong evidence of saying so, because if you're not really preoccupied or worried, what are you actually doing, but you're just obsessed with what is the number of the tool that you're using, with which are you doing, it's like taking a wrench that has the proper size of the bolt, but not knowing what you're trying to unscrew. So I think this would be a good analogy in understanding how certain people operate when it comes to sound and sound therapy. Mm-hmm. I get a rush when I see that somebody start claiming that this bowl it's better because it was each hammer mark was basically blessed with the monk kiss, or that with every hammer mark there was a prayer, or that there are 7, 8, 12 metals in this specific bowl. Or if you go in more esoteric stuff like crystal bowls, that this bowl have a specific infusion of a crystal that will bring you, I don't know, abundance or prosperity, fertility, whatever is the utility of the one that is marketingly addressing this specific person. So there is too much number and too little conscious, and too little also understanding of the so-called elephant in the room, which is, why are you doing what you're doing? Because it's a trend, because it's nice that people see you, that you're contributing to society through an activity that potentially can help others, but maybe is often completely, ridiculized with the characters that we explained before. Also because it seems that if like 30, 40 years ago, the world was lacking confidence, now everyone is so overconfident about everything that this statement, fake it until you make it, became a dogma. Now, I'm not saying that we should be disempowered and kept down. You're low, you will never be nothing. That's, of course, wrong. But having this, well, believe that you know everything. We always can learn. I always say, even from very banal situations, when you see that something, it's, I don't know, a person takes a handheld gong and bangs it over the head of another person. You know that it's wrong.
Oh.
And it's happening in Dubai. But not only in Dubai. This, from where this is coming, or first and foremost from the fact that the same person doing this never experienced that. And if they did, well, then I think they are really doing something not only bad, very bad. Because
Can be very harmful.
Exactly. There are just two instances when sound is harmful. If too loud and if continuous. Otherwise, sound is extremely safe as modality. And particularly sensitive people are very attracted to. But we should differentiate between the sound for entertainment purposes, music, for instance. You're doing it. I was doing it. So music is beautiful, but at best, you will get goosebumps. You will not enter in the altered state of consciousness unless you take some substance. So that's then a chemically induced state. My point is that we can go beyond.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And I'm sure you experienced it already, because otherwise we wouldn't have this debate now.
Oh, yes.
Vibration is the essence. Sound is one of the manifestation or expressions.
I think also there is a misunderstanding between music and sound therapy as well, because what I've seen is a lot of people trying to make music when it should be a therapy. Is it I'm right?
Absolutely. That's particularly, sorry, musicians, because the starting point, it's always that you need to do something that sounds beautiful.
Harmonized.
And then this is exactly what will engage the mind and prevent you to enter the altered state, which is the state of non-resistance. And that's the point of sound therapy. So you can use sound for music, for relaxation, or for therapeutic purposes. Of course, relaxation is the foundation of therapeutic purposes, so should not be seen as something less.
Yeah, we see it also in spiritual practices that we, every ritual, they start with sounds, and usually sound of a shell. Especially in India, they induce a lot of the shell, the fire, the sounds. Elements, exactly. But not also coming to the point of not engaging the mind, because the purpose is to release it. Same with meditation, because if you are trying to engage in the mind, it's not becoming a meditation, and
Correct.
it's not helpful at all.
It becomes entertainment.
And entertainment, exactly. Oh, so what do you think about telling sick people that they created their disease? It's do you think that this is a kind of spiritual abuse?
Clearly. I mean, if you're trying to present that somebody attracted the issue that they have, even if it's true, let's suppose for a moment that it's true, how is this helping them? How? What is the added value of this kind of statement? This would be gaslighting. And that's never okay, because we are basically, instead of empowering the person, we are disempowering. How is this helping the individual? Maybe it's making us feel better because we now give some kind of unsolicited advice. For what? It's again just this, one wanting to be beyond another.
Well, why do people accept blame for things they didn't cause?
Again, they want to find a reason. Often, if you don't have something to peg on something, how will you start basically solving something? It's a little bit about politics. You create the issue in order to find solution. In here it's similar, because if you want to squeeze someone, you need to present them as they have so many issues that they need to work so much on themselves. Let me give you another example. I was almost 10 years ago working in a center here in JLT. I'll not make names, but is at least at the time was the most known center. And I was employed as sound therapist, which will most likely never ever happen because I will never ever work for someone else. I will be either self-employed. So why I'm giving this as an example? Because it was known that I always devoted a lot of time to the person, so I have cues. And then someone that was also working at the center, perhaps with less traffic, came and started basically pillaging my client. And this lady then explained to me, said this girl came to me and said, "What are you doing here?" Said, "I'm waiting for Marko." Marko always make their clients wait. You know, unlike Marko, they just make you lay down and then you're come to my session. We are really doing something during meditation. Now imagine meditation, meditatio, doing nothing, accepting, presence. No, you need to do something. This call to action became an obsession. You need to do something. You need to take action. You need to buy this product. You need to have this supplement. You need to drink alkalized water. You need to listen to Deva Premal. You need to smudge the room in order to remove stagnant energy. You need to wear Lululemon leggings and do yoga at 4 a.m. because otherwise you will not 3 dots. You know what I mean? It's like a multi-prescription of things that you should do in order to just be, instead of just being and making the best out of it. It's really like going all the way around. It's a little bit like the principle of energy. Throughout humanity, the whole principle works on explosion. Car engines, demolitions, conquering. Where are the implosions? If everything is really an act of yin and yang, of these two, plus, minus, male, female, hot, cold, north, south, plus. So where is then the opposite of this? It seems we are just on one side, on this side of kind of making a step or an action in order to become better. Now, nothing is wrong with working on ourselves in order to become a better version of ourselves. But if you become obsessed over something and that you need to do all of these rituals in order to be sane, I think in reality it's the opposite. It's insanity that drives you to do this sanitization with all of these activities that are not necessarily needed.
Is it healing becoming dependency?
Yeah. Not only this, it's like multiple modalities at once. Or for instance, in learning, how many people I know that were taking 2, 3, 4 courses or trainings at once. Why? It's a sort of compensation. Compensation, it's usually when we want to catch up for something that we were supposed to do. We didn't do it for whatever reasons. But then there is this accumulation or acceleration that is usually always imbalanced. Because you cannot catch up something that grows with time, and that the component of time is participating in the whole process. For instance, the Darli from 4 years ago was different than Darli now. or the Darlianne that I met 6 or 7 years ago.
Asking you enormous amount of questions.
All
I
fine.
remember. And he was so like answering all in a very beautiful way. Yes, very, very profound.
You'll make me blush.
Who are the people profiting from others' insecurities?
Therapists,
Therapists.
whoever is working in holistic. And again, nothing is wrong helping or doing the best, but how many times you see that everything is just geared to having more session, more tools, more of something. It's just more, more, more. When was the last time somebody recommended you less of something? It's very unlikely. Because usually when you recommend less, this means more power to you. Whereas when there is more, this gives power to others. And people that, for instance, don't have a very strong self-esteem, or that were brought up not necessarily with trauma, it's enough that they were brought up in a very disempowering way. They will have this within them that, Pink Floyd, looking for someone or something to show you the way. You know the song from 1973, legendary album, The Dark Side of the Moon? Time.
Wow. Wow.
So if you're looking for someone or something to show you the way, you'll never find a way, because you is the answer. It's just that sometimes we forget. When was the last time you were who you are and not what the world told you to be?
Oof. I used to be there in that state for a long time, really. Even now, having a lot of realizations lately of just accepting who I am. But it took me a long time and journey to come to this point. And yeah, it's a lot of shadow work as well. Sometimes you just don't want to go there.
It's not easy.
Accepting, yeah, it's not easy at all. But removing those layers and layers and layers and uncovering to become your true itself, the place that we're not supposed to go out and coming inward again, it's a lot of inner work.
Because there is too much of work out and too little of work in.
How do we reconnect with inner wisdom in a world full of external experts?
Well, that's a tough question, I must say, because by expert you're referring to a person, to a teaching, to what are you exactly referring?
In the sound therapy.
Okay. In other words, who would be a credible evidence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the clowns.
Now for this we are not going. I promise. Despite the fact that I train just in Dubai over 400, maybe even 500 people, still 85% of what is happening is performance. It's okay. It's people's decision. They like to be. For instance, if you work in the field that you work, it's common that you are in a performance. And everything that we do is performance ultimately. It's just that some performances have certain result. Mm-hmm. Some performances are just performances. Now,
not at all.
For instance, I know people that do beautiful sound group sessions, sound baths. They have, in my opinion, no clue of what they're doing, and yet they do something beautiful. The issue is, if you ask the same person to do something in a different way or with a different outcome, and then you start seeing who understands and who is basically Nike, just do it.
I like that. Do you think placebo-based healing is still a real healing? Why and why not?
Well, placebo in general, it's again based on belief. If I link it to your previous question that I feel we didn't maybe conclude, if I may, there are few people that genuinely work on empowering others and on giving protocols or ways how to achieve best results. Because what is important? What is the true therapeutic practice? Why I say that for me, sound healing, it's wrong. Because healing implies that, for instance, me or you or both are healers. That's again attachment, because in reality, the person that is receiving the session is the healer if he, she is open enough.
Right.
You are the healer. But there are certainly some people that took this to a higher level and that are not just subject of buying the most fancy alchemy bowl or having the latest sound fancy tools that will make this, or using a sort of prominent talisman that will attract this and that, or having the culture of the hat that it's now very popular. I think actually I would like to do an episode, the culture of the hat. You know what I mean? I'm sure you noticed that in the last 3, 4, 5 years, there is an increased number of spiritual people that are wearing a hat.
Cotton clothes.
Well, that was since
Beads.
ever, but these are specific one with the hat. It's like almost a sect, I would say.
Yeah.
So there are some, I don't want to do names, not because I don't want to do names, but because I don't want to influence anyone in thinking what is wrong and what is right. Try and then see. Again, if you want to help a person with something, usually help, it's not something that is very exciting. Even if you're doing coaching, maybe some people really find this amusing because they get a sense of satisfaction or completion of themselves. They might really help others, but in first place, often they're basically reasserting themselves that they are who they are. And I'm not saying this is wrong, because we are all doing this to a certain extent. It's just that when these become the main reason, then what is the outcome, or what are we really trying to do? What are we really addressing? So placebo would be when someone believes that if you do this, this will happen. It might partially, it might not. You always have these three options. It's a little bit like the things that we don't see. People will say, oh, I don't believe in things that you don't see. Really? How about air? Do you see it? No. Without air, most likely not, right? How about electricity? You also don't see it. I mean, potentially you can, but in majority of the cases, you don't see it, and yet you can feel it if you touch it. And same with magnetism and all other things, radiation. They're all things, at the end, science tries to understand things that they cannot, like life, love, things that are very close to us, but are ungraspable.
And what does Marko's awakening represent in modern life? Where can we find your truest self today, Marko?
I think we should all have a sort of bell, since we are talking about tools, a sort of singing bowl, a bell that calls you to basically break this spell of myths, of conditioning, of beliefs, of certain ways, prescriptions, how you should live your life. And really act more from heart, act more from what we really feel. At the end of the day, we are still human, slowly getting synthesized, but still in this process. So maybe a little less focus on these specific tools and on the specific tunings and on stuff like that, and more on what we really want to achieve and possibly what are the metrics of doing so. And when we will stop believing in these numbers as some kind of holy solution, it's a little bit like the story of the shepherd, The shepherd is warning the sheep about the wolf. But at the end, Who finished the ships? Maybe a wolf here and there as well, but in reality is that the ships usually end with the shepherd. And yet, the shepherd is the one that is listened to. So I think this analogy can go in many places. Everyone needs to try. Trying, it's essential. Nobody is 100% right or wrong. But this inability to just go to something more simple, to something maybe more organic, seems to be a problem nowadays, that everything needs to be flashy, that there is no attention span, that if you don't explain in 30 seconds, you're unable to do anything, or you're a certain way paralyzed or irrelevant if you're not online, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have a lot to say about the sonic temple that, yeah, indeed it has been something very transformative in my life. And I do believe in everything what you have said, Marko. I'm very grateful for you being here today. Thank you so much for sharing so much. And yes, looking forward for the next, where we see you next.
I'm also very happy, and I would like to take this special occasion, which is also my first podcast, to not only wish you a successful new start, wherever you will be, but also to connect us, perhaps on distance, and make some efforts together, even online, since distance should nowadays not be an obstacle anymore.
Not anymore.
So at this stage, maybe I will just encourage everyone that got some curiosity to check for Sonic Temple, which is basically how I am present online, now either through the website sonictemple.me or on Instagram sonic.temple. And yes, I'm also on Linktree now, slowly learning the
Beautiful.
teachings and the encouragement also from people like you. So yeah,
So much, Marko.
let's make the world a better place through sound.